Lakers lose in round one. So we know that. All of the talk in the recent days has been, all the talks in the recent days have been about Luka. And I don't think it's fair whatsoever. Blaming Luka, I don't think that's fair. But there are some things that we should talk about. And Luka's my guy. I've watched every game of his career. That's not true. There were some Lakers games that I missed after the trade. But I've watched 99% of the professional NBA games that Luka Doncic has played in his career. I have thoughts and feelings. I want him to succeed at the highest level. I want him to achieve everything that he's capable of achieving, which I do think is that of a top 15 player in the history of the game. Now, the problem with that is if he wants to be that top 15, top 10 player of all time, it's about time, right? It's time to get going. Next year is probably like, all right, here we go. Here we go. It's time. This wasn't a slight that Redick said. He got to come back next season when we meet on the bone. I hear people blaming JJ more than Luka. So, yeah, I mean, Tim McMahon said the Lakers already built a statue of Luka. It was just on the court on defense. Did he actually say that? That's pretty fucking funny. That's a pretty funny thing to say. That's funny. On the Hoop Collective, Wendy was not happy. Okay, so this comment came out afterwards. JJ Redick, we have to get in championship shape. Redick notes some players were in phenomenal shape and others could have been in better shape, but collectively they need to be in better shape. Obviously, I think he's talking about multiple guys here. I mean, the team was gassed by the end of the series. Doesn't help that they played entire second halves of games, which I thought was not smart at all on JJ's end. But I do think part of this is on Luka. JJ scapegoating Luka is kind of sad. I don't view this as a scapegoating thing. So I'll say this right now. And look, for the next 10, 20 minutes or so, I'm going to be talking about Luka Doncic. I'm not going to be speaking towards Luka stans or Luka defenders. But this really quickly, briefly for Luka stans, Luka defenders. It's time to thicker skin, right? It's time to grow a little bit thicker skin, especially if you're following Luka. You're going to continue to follow Luka. It's going to be bad in LA. Yes, he's going to be the center of attention. When the Lakers do not win, he's going to get a lot of shit. This is how it works. It's going to be amplified. It's been bad at times with Dallas. You saw the narratives last year after the finals, the year that the Mavs missed the playoffs. It was very loud for Luka Doncic. It's going to be louder. It's going to be 10 times louder. He's playing for the Lakers now, okay? So for those of you who couldn't wait for Luka to get off the Mavs fan base is there, oh, he gets blamed for everything. It's going to be 10 times worse. The fact that you didn't think it would be, you're out of your fucking mind. And now you're going to learn the hard way, unfortunately, that this is how it goes. Okay? So it's you got to develop a little bit thicker skin. You have to. It can't be a slight. Everything can't be a slight. No, JJ's not throwing Luka under the bus. He's not throwing anybody under the bus here. JJ, I think the first thing JJ said was that he has to be better as a coach. And this is not wrong here. Okay, what he's saying here is not incorrect. What he's saying here is not wrong. He's being 100% right. I did find it funny. Draw out the two. You think they beat the Wolves with Mark Williams? I think it's probably a different series, but honestly, no. Well, I mean, I guess you never know. It would be a completely different series. Who else was JJ talking about when he mentions needing to get in shape? Championship shape. I mean, he could be talking about Reeves. Reeves had a dog shit series. Fatty LeBron. I mean, look, Luka's one of the people he's talking about. There's no doubting that. My Reeves hate paid off. It did pay off. It did. So, yes, the Lakers lost this series. Anybody out there who's... Look, here's the reality. Anyone out there who's saying they lost the series because of Luka, Luka's the biggest reason why they lost the series, X, Y, and Z. That's not worth your time. Debating with these people, getting upset about these people, getting upset about what they say, it's not worth your time. Okay? It just isn't. The Lakers lost the series because they weren't good enough. Straight up. They weren't good enough. They weren't talented enough as a team. They didn't have enough pieces. They weren't big enough. They didn't have the athletes, right? That was it. They weren't deep enough. That's why they lost the series. Jackson Hayes stunk like shit. They had to go small the entire game, basically. That's why the series was lost for the Lakers. Okay? But there was other stuff that led to that loss. Fourth quarter performances from their stars. Luka, LeBron, dreadful in the fourth quarter of this series. Dreadfully bad. Perimeter defense as a whole, the whole team, horrible. When you mix that with no rim protection whatsoever because Rui Hachimura is playing center, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. And their fourth quarter defense was dreadful because of that reason right there. Rebounding was awful. Rudy Gobert is just way bigger. Julius Randle, good rebounder, bigger, physical. That was always going to be a problem for you in this series. Now, were some of your rebounding problems more than that? Were some of your rebounding problems effort? Not putting a body on guys, not boxing out, hoping the ball bounces your way? Yes, absolutely. But it was mainly because you're just small. You were smaller. But one of the problems in this series, I do think was... I do think one of the problems in the series was Luka. I mean, just straight up. And I'll explain why I think that way and what Luka needs to improve on. Okay? Look, at some point, it has to happen for Luka. At some point, it has to happen for him. Because what we saw in this series from him, and look, he was hurt. He was sick in game 4. Then he hurt his back. Sick in game 3. Then he hurt his back. He's coming off a cap. Look, I get it. I get all of that. Okay. But here's just the reality. The Luka Doncic that we saw in this series was not good enough from your star player, your best player, one of your two best players, to win 4 straight series, to win 3 straight series. That's just the reality. Okay. You can throw the stats at me. You can throw the numbers. Look, Luka's always going to be a big number guy. Luka's always going to be a big number guy. Right? And I know Luka, 30 points per game in this series, 45%, 34% from 3, 89 from the free throw line. I mean, those are efficient numbers, right? Lots of people named Carson. I just always think of Carson Wentz. So, Still adjusting to his new team. Yeah, they're still, obviously, like the Lakers were never winning a championship this year. Absolutely not. Is losing in the first round disappointing? Losing in the first round of 5 games and leaving the series thinking, oh man, we weren't really even that close. We got a lot of things that we need to improve on. Is that disappointing? Yes, it is. The Lakers losing in the playoff this postseason is not surprising whatsoever. If you thought the Lakers could go on a finals run, you needed a reality check in a lot of ways. And I tried to give you some. I tried to give you some reality checks, but you guys yelled at me every time I tried to. Luka blow-bys with rim protection are non-issue. I wouldn't say non-issue. So I get the Luka counting stats are good. Luka's always going to have good counting stats. Okay? He just is. It's just the nature of his game, the talent level that he has, the scoring ability that he has. It's a big reason why the expectations for Luka are so high. If Luka had, I don't know, James Harden expectations, if Luka had, trying to think of some other, some other guys, some lesser star level players expectations, then yeah, we're leaving this series going, man, well, hey, Luka had a great one. You got everything you could from Luka. I did not think Luka played a very good series. I just didn't. Using my eyeballs, going off of how good I know Luka can be, I don't think he had a good series, and it's okay to say that, and it should be said. It should be said that it has to be better. Luka was horrible defensively. Horrible in 4 of the 5 games. Just straight up terrible. I thought game 2, he stood on his head a little bit, and he was fine defensively. Every other game, and I know he was sick and then he hurt his back. Okay, fine. But every other game, I thought he was really bad. And I've seen people toss these fucking defensive field goal stats around to say that actually he was pretty elite defensively. What's the point? I have to ask this. And I just said I wasn't going to be talking towards Luka stands, but I have to do it right now. I saw this on Twitter. People are going back and forth using defensive field goal metrics to show actually Luka was an elite defensive player in the series. His ISO stats were the best in the play. He's been elite defensively. What's the point in even doing that? I really don't get it. Like, what's the point of even lying about it? I don't understand. You watch the games. You think he was good enough defensively? Do you actually think that? In your heart of hearts, do you believe that? If so, there's no point of even really arguing with people like this because there's nothing you can tell them. You can lie with statistics. Dude, defensive field goal percentage is a horrid stat. Nobody should be using it. I don't see many people using it as a stat. The only time I think that stat matters is like prolonged, season-long rim defensive field goal percentage. That tells you a good amount about shot blockers and bigs who are rim deterrences. Otherwise, this stat is so misleading. Defensive field goal percentage, so misleading. Dort gets credit with that stat, though. I never liked defensive field goal percentage pretty much ever. I just think it's a stat that's deeply flawed. Let me just pull up defensive field goal, like what I'm talking about here. So much stats don't matter. Your eyeballs matter for defense. That's just the truth. Oh my God. Look at this. They're literally hiding the footage from us. NBA does not want us to watch Luka's defensive field goals. Is that how it is for everyone? Austin Reeves? Oh my God, the NBA is actually hiding this information. You are using blow-by percentage and talking about defensive field goal percentage? When the fuck have I ever used blow-by? I spent so much time last year talking about how stupid the blow-by percentage stat was. I've never used blow-by percentage as a stat. Ever. I've never used that stat. I don't like that stat. Keeping the Wolves another offensive rebound. Okay, you see what I'm saying? So Luka, this is it. So for some reason we can see the three. So this is why I'm saying this stat is stupid. This counts as a defensive field goal stop for Luka. This play right here gets thrown to the ground by Gobert. Slow getting up. McDaniels gets a wide open three. Now in the stats, this stupid fucking stat. I don't even think I've used blow by ironically. I don't even know where to get that stat. So that's why these stats are shaky to say the least. It just goes to whoever the closest defender is. Okay. I did not think Luka was good at all in this series defensively. And I don't care about blow-by stats. I don't give a shit about any of that stuff. I'm using my eyeballs. Luka was getting hunted every single play, which is what's going to happen. He's never going to be an elite defensive player. And ideally, when a team gets built around him, he'll be the weakest defender on the floor. And that's not a slight to him, but that's like, if you're building a team around Luka, that's what you want it to be. So teams will hunt him. Teams will go after him. Teams will go after him because he's the lead ball handler, and you want to go after that guy. You want to tire him out. We see this time and time again. But he was getting beat so easily by Julius Randle, by Jaden McDaniels, by Ant. And he had a couple of plays where he sat in a chair and played good defense. Like, don't get me wrong. And defensive field goal for me, like contesting threes and step back threes when guys settle. I mean, I don't know. Like, yeah, that's fine and all. That's cool. The real problems are when Luka gets beat off the dribble in one dribble, and now your defense is collapsing and the ball's moving, and now guys are shooting wide open threes. I mean, look, this game, make no mistake about it, this game should have been a 20-point win for the Timberwolves. They shot 14% from three, 7 of 47. They missed 40 threes. We mentioned this. That was the most threes ever missed by a team in a playoff game ever. And they still won. And it was frustrating watching the game because, like from a Timberwolves perspective, because you almost want to say, guys, just stop shooting threes. But holy shit, they were generating so many wide the fuck open threes. Sheldon with a $9.99. Why do Lakers fans expect him to do something he didn't do for the Mavs or himself? He can't guard athletic players. OKC, Houston, Spurs, Minnesota will search him out. He needs a wall of 3-and-D players plus lob threats. So I think, for me, right, going off of your point right there, Sheldon, for me, I've never cared when Luka gets beat off the dribble by somebody. Luka got beat off the dribble by Anthony Edwards. Okay. Guess what? Anthony Edwards beats a lot of guys off the dribble. That's not really the problem. And the Mavs defensively last year, yeah, they had rim protection. And so part of their scheme was, hey, it's okay to funnel these guys into our rim protection. And we'll rotate off of that. Now, the Celtics, once it got to the Celtics and everybody on the floor could shoot, that's when a problem started. But I still think the Mavs did fine defensively there. The Lakers don't have that. And when you don't have that backing Luka, that's when it really, really shows. I mean, go back and watch these games, guys. Like, Luka's getting beat off the dribble by Ant, by all of these guys, by Jaden McDaniels, by Julius Randle's. Like Ant beats a lot of guys off the dribble, so just throw him out the equation. But Julius Randle, Jaden McDaniels, I mean, beating him so easily. The defense collapses, ball's moving, it's an open three, or we're ripping going on a defender who's having a wild closeout because he's having to rotate from under the rim to the 3-point line, like all of these different things. And that's where I think my frustrations with Luka defensively really shine, is once you get beat, you have to rotate. If you're going to funnel guys into your rim protection, you then have to rotate. And there are times where Luka just doesn't do that. His rotations can be slow, or he doesn't rotate whatsoever. And I know his rebounding numbers are good. I honestly, it's been a while since I felt like Luka's a really good rebounder. There were stretches where I thought, man, Luka's such a great rebounder for a guard, obviously with his size and stuff like that. But I don't think Luka's been a great rebounder for a while. I think he's lazy. I think he's lazy on the glass. And the Lakers were always going to get dominated on the glass in this series. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm not blaming Luka for that. But he's been lazy defensively. He's still good for a guard. Absolutely, but it's not like Luka's guarding guards, right? Luka's often, he'll get switched on to guards, but they're putting Luka on like power forwards, small forwards. Those guys crash the glass, and you gotta make an effort to box guys out. You gotta make an effort to prevent those guys from crashing. And I feel like for a few years now, that's been a big weak spot for him. Right? It's been a big problem for him. So yes, I do think this is an important summer for Luka. Yes, he physically, he needs to get to a point where he can play, do his thing offensively, be passable defensively, which we've seen him be at times, be passable defensively, I thought, which is exactly what he was last year in the playoffs. Even though, yes, the Mavericks built the team perfect for him, right? So Luka gets beat, that's fine. We've got people to help. You just got to get out to the 3-point line. You get beat off the dribble, just rotate. We'll do all the rest. It's time to, if this is Luka's peak, where would you put him? Top 50 ever? I'm bad with all-time rankings. I'm not sure. The Celtics embarrassed him, man, not giving him credit defensively for that run. Yeah, and I think it's in. So I was easy with my criticism of Luka last year in the finals because, one, they made the finals. Two, he was clearly, I mean, anyone who watched Luka at all last year knew he was clearly compromised. He was so obviously 60% at best. It was so obvious that he was hurt last year in the playoffs. Just go back and watch him early in the season last year. It was so clear that he was dealing with significant injuries. Right? So I was easy with my criticism of him because he just made the finals. The whole team shit the bed against the Celtics, realistically. And I didn't think he was already getting so much shit by the national media. Like, I'm not all that interested. But yeah, Luka was awful defensively against the Celtics. He was terrible. He was terrible. But again, everyone was bad. Like, everyone was bad in that series. Why is he never 100% healthy? This is the thing, Camellia. This is it. This is the problem. This is far and away the number one thing with Luka right now. How can we get to a point with Luka where, from a physical perspective, from a conditioning, because conditioning absolutely plays a part in this, but conditioning from a physical perspective, how can we get to a point where we're not constantly dealing with these injuries? Because, look, this was the first time this year that Luka has missed significant time with an injury, right? 50 games, had missed a month and a half with that calf injury. It's the longest amount of time that he's missed for an injury. So he hasn't had, and knock on wood, he hasn't had these catastrophic injuries. But how many years in a row are we now of there just being constant shit with Luka? Like, how many years in a row are we at now? Because the year that the Mavs missed the play-in tournament, 22-23, he had that lingering, what was it? A thigh injury? A lingering thigh injury that was there all year long. All year long, it was a thigh injury. To be fair, that's every player apart from like 5 to 10 players that play 75-plus games. No, I know, but let's just look at the postseasons. The last 3. And it's going to be crazy to say stuff like this because it's been 2 conference finals runs and a finals run of his last 3 playoff trips. That's a testament to how good he is and why I even care about this shit, because I think he can be better. Because what I'm about to say, he did all of that compromised every time. Every single time. 21-22. Mavs make the conference finals. Luka has a tremendous season. Finishes the season with a calf strain. Now, I think that was the first time. He suffered a calf strain there. And it's pretty much dude, he played every game in the playoffs. You just can't stop, can you? You can't handle him being good. What? What does that even mean? Charlie with the $4.99. If Luka had better body language, showed more effort on defense, there would not be a conversation. Jokic and Steph are just as bad, if not worse. You can't handle him being good. I don't understand what that chat is saying. So anyways, 21-22, calf injury entering the playoffs, missed the first 3 games, I want to say. And that was when Brunson, and we're going to still talk about Brunson later in the stream. That was when Brunson had his breakout. Luka came back and did look good, right? Did look good. I think the first game back was a little bit rough, but did look good. Made the conference finals. The series against the Suns, legendary. Legendary shit. Warrior series. And I don't want this to get swept under the rug in this overarching conversation because it's important. Because Luka's entering the prime of his career now, and now it's time to get going. If it feels as though I don't like Luka, look, if I didn't like Luka, I wouldn't even be doing this shit. I'd be making fun of him and we'd be moving on. I'm having this conversation because I do think Luka can be better than this. I do expect Luka to be better than this. And now it's time to get there. Now it is time to reach that point. If Luka's an all-time great if you were to retire today, fuck all-time great. We're talking top 10. We're talking top 15 all-time. That's a different stratosphere. And I think Luka can reach it. I'm not like insecure about it. I'm not like, you can't say anything bad about my binky. I'm not doing anything like that. I think Luka can actually reach that. So now it's time to talk about how to reach that because that's a different stratosphere. That's a different stratosphere. That's not hand-holding. Let's all sing Kumbaya. No, it's all right. You lost in round one. No, it's all right. You got hunted every single time, and you lost the series, and you were picked apart defensively. Like, it's all good. You know, so you averaged 34 points. Like, it's all good. That shit's gone. He's going to be 27 entering next year's playoffs. Sheldon with the 499. Has the NBA figured out Luka take away the lob threat, stay home on shooters, and make him a scorer? Just tire him out on offense and defense? I'll talk about that here in a bit. Stop shortening his window. He just made the finals. He has the next 3 to 5 years to enter his prime. He does not have 5 years to enter his prime. What does that even mean? He does not have 5 years to enter his prime. He's not entering his prime. Considering the mileage and the injuries he's already suffering, he's not entering his prime at 31 years old. Luka's not 22 anymore. He's going to be 27 at the start of next postseason. That's still very young, though. The amount of all-time greats who have won before they are 28 is disgustingly small. I know. I'm saying he's now entering his prime, so this is what is required now. Okay? Where was I at? Okay. They make the conference finals, calf injury, and I don't want this to get swept over the rug in this overarching conversation because I want this to be, here's how Luka can get better, here's what he has to do to get better. That Golden State Warriors conference finals, the Mavericks were not competitive whatsoever in that series. Their roster was not good enough. Okay? Let's just start there. That's why they lost the series. The Warriors were just way better than the Mavericks. Okay? But a problem in that series was Luka was terrible defensively. And the Warriors, and this is why I would have picked the Warriors to beat the Lakers that they played in the first round. That type of offense is bad. That type of offense is going to give Luka some problems. Okay? Now, Brunson was done by that point. The Mavs were completely and totally fucking gassed. They ran Reggie Bullock and Dorian Finney-Smith into the dirt during that Suns series. That's why they lost the series. I'm not saying at all they lost it because of Luka's defense. But that was a problem in the series. Right? Hey, man, Reggie Bullock was great during that conference finals run. All right. That was the last time Wiggins was good. True. And Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole saved it all. Again, used it all against the Mavs. Then you had the following season, Mavs missed the play-in tournament. Again, a deeply flawed roster. They trade for Kyrie Irving mid-season. It takes a while for them to gel. It just never works out. Christian Wood and JaVale McGee were your starting centers. I mean, just a fucking horrible roster. This is part of the reason why, like, Nico's approval rating was so high. It was because he turned that roster into a team that made the finals. But deeply flawed roster. Great season from Luka. Was dealing with a lingering thigh injury all year long. And there were games where it was very noticeable. A lingering thigh problem. Do you guys remember that? I forgot about that until someone brought it up. A lingering thigh problem that bothered him the entirety of the season. All right, then we enter the final series, the next season where the Mavs make the finals. Again, I thought Luka should have won MVP in this season. He finished third. I thought he should have won it. Led the league in scoring. Was fantastic. Sometime in March, we don't know the exact date. We can't pinpoint it. Sometime in March, knee injury that had him incredibly compromised for the remainder of the season. Knee injury that had him compromised for the remainder of the season. And this is a testament to how unbelievably good that Mavs roster was last year. And it was a great roster. They made a finals run on what was statistically, efficiency-wise, Luka's worst postseason. Although I would say that I think this series was worse. But Luka's worst postseason, he was clearly compromised. But the Mavs roster was fucking awesome. I mean, it was great. What a great team that was. Knee problems the entire postseason. Yeah. And then you get into this year, enters the season with a calf problem. You guys remember it took him 10 games. The first 10 games of the season for Luka was like the worst 10-game stretch of his career outside his rookie year. We talked about it on this channel. Then the wrist injury. Was it a wrist sprain, or did his team think he needed some time to get his conditioning right. That's up for debate. That's one of the things we talk about with the trade. I don't know. Then comes back, looks good, looks really good for like a 10-game stretch. Boom, hurts his calf. The rest is history. Basically, what I'm saying is this is a concerning trend. He's 25. He entered the season 25 years old, turned 26. He's too young to be consistently dealing with these injuries. It doesn't feel like it'll get better as he gets older. And knock on wood, we haven't had the catastrophic injury or anything like that. But we need to get to a point where these lingering injuries aren't such a problem. Mike with the 5 gifted subs. Thank you. And if it's not this offseason, I really don't know when the fuck it's going to be. He has to enter next season in better shape. He has to. Has to. Because the way that he's been entering seasons, and use your eyeballs, guys. Go back and watch the first 10 Mavs games and tell me if you thought that was a player who was in anywhere near playing shape. Tell me. With a straight face. It has to be now. More than fair to bring him injuries is his biggest concern. That's the biggest concern with me, is injuries. And I do wonder how many of these injuries were because you're not coming into the season ready to go. You're not coming into the season. And look, Luka's in the gym. His teammates tell me Luka's in the gym. That's great. Yes, these guys are fucking professional NBA players. They're in the gym. Nobody is saying that Luka doesn't even work out. Luka doesn't do anything. Luka is X, Y, and Z. Of course he does. He's in the fucking NBA. Like, obviously he is. Like, obviously he is. But I use my eyeballs, and I don't know. There's definitely times where I'm watching him, I'm like, man, Luka looks jogging up and down the court. He looks gassed constantly. He looks a little heavier. My eyeballs are telling me this. He has to get better at it. He has to get more serious. Has to. That's just the reality. And if it doesn't get there, hey, if it just never clicks for him in that way, hey, he'll finish his career as a great all-time player, one of the best scorers we've ever seen, one of the best playmakers we've ever seen, maybe even an MVP or two, and maybe he wins a ring. But it won't be the heights that he can reach. I'll tell you that much. It will not be the heights that he's capable of reaching. And beyond the defense stuff, this has been a long-time trend in Luka's career, and it was on full display in this series. He was awful in the fourth quarter of games. Awful. Why does he slightly? Luka has the Lakers held hostage. They have no future, and he has all the leverage. He knows someone will sign him to a supermax. Why does he what? Why does he have to get better? I'm saying if Luka wants to be an legitimate all-time great, top 10, top 15 player ever, that's what he has to do. I don't give it doesn't. He can go do it on a different team. I don't know about that, but he also wasn't given a lot of rest on the bench, though. The Lakers had no one that could give him a break. I agree with you there, but at the same time, you're 26 years old. Like, I'm talking about top 10, top 15 level players. Go back and look at what some of those guys were doing. You shouldn't be that. Playing like heavy minutes in a playoff setting in round one shouldn't be this like, I'm so gassed now in the fourth quarter, I can't contribute. And I get he played a lot of minutes. But that's a problem for me. If you're 26 years old and it's like the fourth quarter comes around, it's like, hey, I'm done. I'm gassed. You've got all you can get out of me. Fourth quarter of games this series for Luka. God, the NBA stat website is so horrible. 4 points per game in the fourth, 30% from the field, 14% from deep. I believe had more turnovers than assists. Three assists, 3 turnovers, minus 36, with, I believe I looked it up, a 128 defensive rating when he was on the floor. And it was gas last year at 22. Yeah, and it was a thing that he had to fix. One, Luka's expectations are much higher than Ant's. Let's start there. Two, that was a thing that everyone watching agreed. That has to improve for Anthony Edwards. That can't happen. And Anthony Edwards in the fourth quarter of this series was fantastic. 10 assists and 1 turnover in the fourth quarter of games for Anthony Edwards. That's so impressive for him. Much higher as a stretch. I mean, if you don't think the expectations for Luka at 25 years old are higher than a 22-year-old Anthony Edwards, I don't know what to tell you. They are much higher. Luka made plays in the playoffs last year with a ton of injuries. Oh, yeah. I mean, yes, he did. I'm talking about this. This series was bad in the fourth quarter, and it's been a reoccurring theme of Luka's career. The efficiency and the numbers for Luka tailing off late in games. So we just have to get to a point. And I know Luka plays a ton of minutes. I get all of this. So after all this talk, what you're saying is not only is this summer very important, it might be Luka's most important summer of his career. I think that's fair. And I'm going to be honest with you guys, right? Because there's absolutely time for Luka to fix this. And do I think he'll do it, though? I've seen Lakers fans say this is the summer for him. I'm going to be real. I'm not that confident. I have to be brutally honest with you. I'm not that confident. Because this has been like a 4 straight summer thing for me. I remember when Slovenia had a brutal loss to France in the Olympics. When was that? 2021? I thought this is going to be like a moment for Luka. This will be a moment for Luka. This will be a moment. Didn't happen. Kind of got embarrassed by the Warriors. That might have been the same year as... No, it wasn't. If he didn't do it after all the final slander, nothing will motivate him. Hey, sorry for the misinformation last week with the Jason Kidd hugging kid comment. Oh, I forgot about that. It's all good, bro. Well, that's what the 499. If a finals loss and quick first round exit doesn't change him, this will be a slow burn. Would it hurt more or less if he was still on the Mavs? I mean, it would definitely... Would it hurt more or less? I mean, I'd still much rather him be on the Mavs than not. Don't get me wrong. It would hurt a little bit more on the Mavs because now it's just like, well, I hope Luka does it. So I'm just saying this, right? I get if some of this stuff upsets you as a Luka fan, a Luka defender, that's fine. That's your guy. I get it. That's your guy. You know, I want him to be the best he can possibly be. And if I'm just using my eyeballs and being honest with myself, just being really honest with myself, defensively, I did not think what he did in this series was anywhere near acceptable if you want to win 4 straight series. Okay? And the way that he played in the fourth quarter is not good enough to win 4 straight series. How can we fix it? Yes, the team has to be better. That goes up being said. I led with that. I led with that. The team was nowhere near good enough. But Luka was also nowhere near good enough. Two things can be true. Here's the thing. Luka's ever been on a roster when he could have been as bad as SGA was for 3 games against Memphis? And still win by a lot? Well, you want to know something? And here's also part of the problem, and something I would love to see for Luka, and I was hoping we would see this year for the Mavs. That was, if you guys remember, that was my biggest wish for the Mavs entering the season, was we had a fun regular season and won a lot of games. Is the reason why you've never seen a series like that is because the Mavs, Lakers, whoever on Luka's team, has never played an easy game, an easy opponent in the playoffs, or what can be considered an easy opponent in the playoffs, because they never win enough games. Because for whatever reason it is, and some of it's roster construction, but I think also some of it is at some point you just got to look at it and be like, okay, why aren't you winning a ton of regular season games? Why is it that it's been like 4 or 5 straight years of we're like teetering around 500 at the trade deadline and have to just fucking go crazy over the last 3 months to make the playoffs? They were never going to have an easy postseason. Thunder 2 straight years, easy first round. Well, they were the 1 seed. That's what happens when you're the 1 seed. That's why you should strive to be the 1 seed. You have home court throughout the playoffs, and you play an easy first round. Tim Legler talked about this. Why has he not won 60 games yet? Dude, fuck 60 games. Why haven't we won like 55? Why have we never been a 3 seed? Because the West is hard, maybe? No, I get the West is hard, but other teams do it. The Thunder won 68 games in a harder conference. Also, Mavs get injured around December. Yeah. Poor roster plus Luka having a month of meat sweats to start the season. Not meat sweats. Last year's Mavs was the first time he had a roster construction to win a bunch, but he only had that after the trade deadline. I think that's fair. I'm trying to think about how I want to word what I'm about to say without it coming across the way that it will almost certainly come across. I think everything you're saying is fair. If Luka's the player I know he can be, and again, I'm talking top 10, top 15 player to ever play the game. Right? How have we not just propelled our team into like a 55 win season at any point? I guess that's just kind of where I'm at. Can we start to get that? I know it's roster construction, but I've seen again, I'm talking about a different level of player that I think Luka is capable of being. Luka obviously doesn't care about the regular season like he does in the playoffs. I think that's fair, but I do think that that was one of my big fucking things entering this year. You guys could go back to the start of the season and hear me talking about it. Where I was basically like, please take this regular season seriously. Please take this regular season seriously. Please win a bunch of games. Please get a home court advantage. Please. small headband Luka was unstoppable. Yeah, that was. That was an unstoppable era. Isn't this the weakest link era, though? Yeah, I mean, that's why this Lakers team was never winning the finals at any point. Like, their roster's not good enough to win the finals. Largely due in part because they don't have the guys, because they'll always just have somebody on the court who's a weak link in some way. It's funny you say that. The weakest link portion of it. Luka, far and away the weakest link defensively. Okay? So, as I was saying earlier, has to get to a point, and we've seen this at times throughout his career, but has to get to a point where consistently, even if he might be the weakest link on defense, if the team is built the way around Luka that it needs to be built, and he is the weakest link on defense, even if he's the weakest link on defense, it's not weak. It's just the least good link. If that makes sense. Who is OKC's weakest link? I mean, it depends on what million lineups they put out there. It's slow starts to the season overall. We talked about this all the time when he's on the Mavs. Yeah, none of the stuff I'm saying right now, I have not said a million times already. So I want to be very clear about that. It feels like I'm singling out him or I'm saying all this now because he's not on the Mavs anymore. None of the stuff I've said, I have not said a million times and gotten yelled at about it a million times. Is Gobert the most underrated, overrated player ever? Probably the most unfairly shit on player in a long time, at least. The most unfairly shit on high impact player in a long time. Yeah. Look, man, just to put a bow on this, I think Luka can be one of the best players in the history of the game. And he already is one of the best players in the history of the game. But I'm saying one of the all-time top 10, top 15 players. Look at those guys. Look at those guys. The league's been around a long time, and a lot of fantastic players have played in the league. Let me just look, right? Top 20 NBA players ever. Let's just look at some of these guys. I mean, I'll just look at a fucking Basketball Reference. Here you go. Oh, this is perfect, because look at the accolades for these guys. And it's perhaps the most controversial question in sports. Okay. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Six-time MVP, six-time NBA champion. Charles Barkley. I don't know how many people have Chuck in the top 10, top 15, but an MVP, 11-time All-NBA, right? Fantastic career. Kobe, 5-time champion. Wilt, 4-time MVP, 2-time champion. Tim Duncan, 2-time MVP, 5-time champion. Dr. J, 4-time MVP, champion. KG, MVP, champion. Artis Gilmore, MVP, ABA champion. LeBron, his resume goes without needing to be stated at this point in time. MJ, same thing. Karl Malone, 2-time MVP, never a champion. Moses Malone, 3-time MVP, champion. Reggie Miller, top 20 NBA players of all time. That's a bad. We're not even really mentioning him because he's not on this list. Okay, let's be serious. Dirk, MVP, champion. Shaq, MVP, champion. 4-time champion. Okay, what is this list exactly? Chris Paul, top 20 player ever. Okay, maybe a different list. Okay, basically what I'm getting at, the Reggie Miller. Don't know about that. Look, Hakeem Olajuwon on this list, and I don't think Hakeem Olajuwon's outside the top 10, I'll tell you that much. But on this list, Hakeem Olajuwon is 11th overall. Two-time champion. I'm just saying, in order to reach this stratosphere, and hey, you know what? Maybe I'm overdoing it. Maybe I'm overdoing it. That list is only based on win shares. Oh, okay. That makes sense then. That makes sense. I mean, people have talked about Steph. People have talked about Steph like after winning the 4th ring. Is it's like, oh, maybe now he's in the top 10 conversation. Steph Curry. 2-time MVP, one of them unanimous, 4-time champion. So again, maybe I'm overdoing the Luka expectations and I need to tone them down a little bit. But the moment he stepped into the league, I thought this guy could be a top 10, top 15 player in the history of the sport. He's that good. The scoring ability he has, the playmaking ability he has at that size. They're all two-way players with extraordinary skills and athleticism. Luka only has one of those traits. But see, Steph, I think, is pretty much unanimously a top 15 player at this point in time, all time. Steph's not great defensively. But you want to know what Steph was capable of achieving defensively? Steph was capable of being passable defensively and even borderline like above average defensively as a small guard. Yeah, and Magic Johnson wasn't great defensively. He's considered a top 10 player ever. Like, Luka just has to want to get there. Yeah, look, as much as I love Dirk, he wasn't a great defender for much of his career. Yeah, Jokic is almost certainly a top 15 player of all time, and he's not great defensively. So if you have offensive skills that set you apart from everyone else, you will have an argument because that's the most important thing. Being a great scorer, a great playmaker, these are all the most important skills a player can have. Being a cone on defense only matters before you win a ring. Well, the thing is all of those guys were able to reach points at least where they were passable defensively, like even Jokic. And Luka has reached that point before, but it just has to be consistent. Okay? There has to be a mental switch, man. And I think he's gotten better with refs, but there's still moments where refs take him out of games. We've seen it this year. Refs take him out of games, and not the way you typically think. That was never my biggest gripe. Yeah, obviously, not getting back on defense, yelling at a ref, this is fucking stupid. Has to be out of his game. Has to. That can't happen ever, okay? But the worst, the one that always pissed me off is when he'd get pissed off at refs and then just sell for the next, 6 possessions offensively because he's trying to draw a foul call. He's trying to prove to the ref, I'm getting fouled. I'm going to sell for 5 straight possessions, throwing up dog shit shots so you can call a foul call. So that's where I'm at with Luka. Just to put a bow on it, man. I only say all of this, and I'm only what you might think harsh on Luka because I do think he could be. If I didn't think Luka could be this good, I wouldn't care. Okay, we'd be talking about how can the only thing I'd be talking about is Luka had a pretty good series. Like he scored 30 points a game, but the Lakers need to do X, Y, and Z to build a perfect team around him. I think he needs to be better. That's it, and he can be better. He can be better. And so he should be better.